Please go subscribe to the Rumble channel for Franchise Sports TV under the name FSTV22. Now, I'm using that Rumble channel for any purposes of me getting kicked off YouTube and also for more of my spicier joints. It's free as well. I have the freedom to say whatever I want to say as well. So go subscribe to FSTV22. That is Franchise Sports TV 22 on Rumble. It's quite sad to see. Well, it really ain't sad, but knowing their history and seeing their history with my own eyes, it's sad seeing what the San Antonio Spurs have become. As of right now, they are 3-18 for the season, 15th in the West. It's not looking good, even with the prospect or the top draft pick they have on their team now with Victor Wembanyama. Nothing much has changed. I don't really watch this team closely, but it was two teams since the season began who have just been absolutely terrible. Detroit Pistons and the San Antonio Spurs. I think the Detroit Pistons didn't win a game all of November. I call that sad. Very sad. But shoot, the only excuse this team can really get, they're young, but I think most of us expected more out of this team with the arrival of Victor Wembanyama. Not 3 wins in the win column. Not 3. Let me see here. Let me look at some of the L's right quick. When's the last time they actually won? The last time they actually won in the regular season, for the most part, they lost their first game against Dallas. I remember that game. So they beat Houston 122 to 126. They beat Phoenix 2 times in a row. So the last time they actually won a game was against the Phoenix Suns. That was a 132-121 win on November 2nd. Since then, they lost to Toronto, Indiana, New York, Minnesota, Miami, OKC, Sacramento, Memphis, the Clippers twice, Golden State, Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, Minnesota, Chicago. That is like a 18-game losing streak. I'm just gonna count them up right quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 so far. 12, 13, 14, 15. She whiz. That's crazy. And they said this is the worst winning streak the Spurs have ever been on in franchise history. That's a winning streak, losing streak they've been on in franchise history. So far this year, they averaged 25. No, they're 25th in points per game, 110 rebounds per game. They're 22nd at 42.7 rebounds a game. Opponents' points, they're 28th. They suck on defense. 122 points, 0.8 allowed. The only good stat they really have is assists. They average the third most assists per game at 29. That's crazy. Let me look at some more stats right quick so far this season for them. As a total, right now they're shooting 45% from the field. Like I said, they average 110 points a game in 21 games. Shooting 34%, 34.7% from the three-point. That's terrible. Free throws 78%. Offensive rebounds 10.2. Defensive rebounds 3.2. Like I said, they 42 rebounds a game, 29 assists, averaging 16 turnovers, 6 steals, 6 blocks, and 20 fouls a game, with a plus minus of a negative .12. They're terrible at home and terrible away. They had a better record away than at home. When they go away from, I was about to say, what's the stadium called now? I don't even know what the stadium is called anymore. Frost Bank Center, I think it is now, because I know they switched the name. When they're away from that stadium, everything gets worse for them when they're away from that stadium. Less points, which is typical, but they will have a better record at home, on the road than at home. And their wins, their 3 wins this year, they scored 124 points, shooting 49% from the field, 38% from 3-point, and averaging 40 rebounds and 31 assists and 12 turnovers, 9 assists and 6 blocks. That's when they win, with a plus minus of 5.3. When they lose in their 18 games so far, 108, of course. Everything's down. Rebounds go up. That's the funny thing. Rebounds go up when they in their 18 games that they lost. Assists go down. Turnovers go up. Steals go down. Blocks stay the same. More fouls with a plus negative 14.9. That's crazy. And so far, out of the month of November, a whopping negative .128 in plus and minus ratio. A whopping 45%. Actually, it's about the same as October. October is 46%. Yeah. They're not good at all. They suck pretty badly. Let me see something right quick. One more thing I want to look up. Let's see here. Their pace is 4th highest in the league at 101.7. Their offensive rating is 107.8, 28th out of 30 teams. Defensive rating is a little bit higher, 119.5, 26 out of 30. With a net ratio rating of negative 11.7. Yeah, this team is yeesh. Yeah, they're gonna need more. I think we pretty much knew this already. They was gonna need more. But just having this big of a losing streak under Greg Popovich is amazing and sad at the same time. But I don't think Popovich is gonna get the axe, because I think he team president. But I do say this about the San Antonio Spurs so far. They do similarly go hand in hand with another team who was great during most of our lifetimes, especially if we were born in the 90s. But they played in a different sport on the other side of the coast, and we call them the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots this year, or for the past few years since Tom Brady left, have been utter trash. They did have one season when they made it to the playoffs. I think that was like 2 seasons ago. But other than that, they've been trash. It is eerily almost similar to how the Spurs have been going. I think since Tim Duncan retired, they were still able to get to the playoffs because they had Kawhi and still an older Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. But after all 3 of those guys left, you had DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gay. And then I think I don't even think it was one of the last years with DeMar. In the last few years that DeMar DeRozan was on that team, they either got to the playoffs or they was a fringe play-in team or just didn't do anything at all. Ever since DeMar DeRozan left, they've been utter trash. Similar to how the Patriots have been. Fringe playoff team, but since then they've been utter trash. It's very, very weird how similar these two teams are in 2 different sports. That tells you right there Not to say that Greg Popovich and um, Barney Rubble over there, Bill Belichick, are not terrible coaches, but this also tells you that how great Tim Duncan was, how great Tony Parker and Kawhi and even DeMar DeRozan and Manu Ginobili were, and Tom Brady was. Because now both of those coaches are reeling right now. I do want to see something right quick before I log off on this video right quick. I want to see what was the Spurs season. What was the Spurs season when Tim Duncan first got there? His first year there. Let's see here. 3-18. I never heard of a Spurs team being 3-18, but they're not the only 3-18 team. The Washington Wizards are just as bad. The Detroit Pistons only won 2 games. They're even worse. And those 3 teams are probably most likely will be fighting for that top pick again. I don't know who's coming out this year to change both of these teams. There's not a lot of people that can change teams, but let me see what it was when Tim Duncan was drafted in his first year. Because you know he was a number 1 pick too in the draft, in the 97 draft. Come on now. Come on, let me look at the years right quick. It would have been a 97, 98 San Antonio Spurs. Bear with me right quick. Oh, now my computer wants to act goofy. Hold on right quick. This thing is not doing what I wanted to do. Here we go. So Tim Duncan's first year would have been a 97-98 season. Of course, they had Greg Popovich. They was 56-26. They lost to the conference semifinals to the Jazz 4-1. They was 5th in their division that year. Not division. Conference, in the Western Conference that year. Let's see here. Let's see the stats what they were. And that year, Tim Duncan's first year with the San Antonio Spurs, they were 92nd, averaged 92.5 points a game, 23rd out of 29 teams. Opponents 88.5, first out of 29 teams. Offensive rating was 103.8, 17th in the league. Defensive rating was 2nd in the league compared to it is at 28th. What I say before? Defensive rating. Pace was actually he didn't have pace was 88. It was a slow team, but everybody was slow back then. But Tim Duncan was rookie of the year too, wasn't he? The last time I checked during that time. But I do say that would be unfair to Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama also didn't have a David Robinson playing next to him down there. I'm trying to think. What's Victor Wembanyama's best teammates? Jeremy Sohan and I can't think of the other dude with the dreads that's been balling for them. Let me see right quick. Jeremy Sohan and Keldon Johnson. What was the other dude with the dreads? Devin Vassell. Yeah, those most likely won't go down as top 50. They're not top 50 players like David Robinson was. I do give Victor Wembanyama that. He ain't playing with a David Robinson. But at the same time, she whiz. And yes, the Spurs at that time did have the best team defensive rating in the NBA that year. In the previous season for the Spurs, a little history lesson, Previous history for the Spurs. Spurs were 20 and 62. Spurs was 20 and 62 before Tim Duncan got there. But also at the same time, I will say this about Greg Popovich. Um, I think he was only general manager that year. Yeah, he was general manager, and after 18 games, um, he became coach because he ended up firing Bob Hill. They went on like an 8-game losing streak during that time as well. Who did they have on the team the year before? On that team, they had the year before, the Spurs had Vernon Maxwell, A.V. Johnson, Dominique Wilkins, or older Dominique Wilkins. And I say David Robinson, of course, Will Perdue, Sean Elliott, Vinny Del Negro. So they was at least competitive. I think Popovich made them competitive. It was only 20-62. I think the Spurs last year was not that far off, but they won't be getting in the same results like when they drafted Tim Duncan. So, and who was on the team with Tim Duncan? They're pretty much the same people. They pretty much had the same amount of people. They did have Chuck Person. Malik Rose was on that team. The irony of looking at this team right now, this 97-98 team, is Monty Williams, the current coach of the Detroit Pistons, who are just as terrible as the Spurs now. That's the funny part about it. See here, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s dad was on this team. So they easily turned this team around, mainly because I think Popovich had a whole season with this team, and then they got the best power forward ever to play a game and one of the top centers that ever played a game on the team as well. But San Antonio Spurs fans, hang in there. I hope none of y'all was thinking this Victor Wembanyama was going to change the team around and make it a 56-26 team. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe wait next year, or maybe something to turn around. Who knows? Maybe Popovich may have to step down as he's getting older. I'm reading this. It's called the 97 Draft Lottery, Tim Duncan Sweepstakes, similar to how the 23 NBA Draft Lottery was the Victor Wembanyama Sweepstakes. Just ain't the same results, though.